Hey, all right. We're going to do a presentation on ants, carpenter ants. And basically, I'm going to tell you a little bit about ants, how to find them, where they go, how to stop them, and give you some products too if you want to, try to get them, get rid of them yourself. So we're going to start off, and of course, I have a PowerPoint presentation. And so, by the way, if you can, I'd like if you can subscribe, that would be great. I have a lot more videos that you can watch on my channel. Please watch them, and most are learning videos. So let's talk a little bit about carpenter ants. How big they are. I know you see those little teeny black ants, the little, like people call them pavement ants and sugar ants. These are a little bit bigger. They're the big black ants, they call them. And we're going to talk about those today on this video, because these are the guys that damage your house. They can seriously devaluate your home and cause major structural problems, tight doors, tight windows, things like that. They're about 1/4 inch to 3/4 inch, depending on which type of carpenter ant it is. We're going to talk about that. Most of the time, they're black. Sometimes they're dark red brown. First of all, these guys do not eat wood. You think they eat wood? No, they don't eat the wood. They live in the wood. I'm going to show you how they live and what kind of wood they like. As they chew up the wood, they don't eat it. They create sawdust, or also known as frass. And basically, they usually move the frass out of where they nest, out of their galleries into other places. They like to keep their place clean. So the actual galleries between the wood, and I'm going to show you that in a couple seconds. So, this particular ant is 3/4 of an inch. Now, how do you know you got carpenter ants? A lot of times you could hear them at night. You hear like grinding type noises, You see them, and I'm going to show you where to look for them in a couple seconds. And you by the size. And now there's some ants that are out, like in your backyard, that live on those mounds. Those are called mound ants. They're not the same ones. Those guys generally, they don't usually go in your house. They've got their own food sources, and they have a different type of habitat. So we're talking about the ones you see in your house, on your house, or maybe around your house. And so we're going to talk about their life, the type of damage. We're going to talk about how to control them. And, if you want to skip this little part, go to about the middle, the 3/4 of this video, and I'll tell you a couple products that you can use to get rid of them that work pretty good. I'll try to provide some links below. If I remember, I'll put them down there. And if you want to skip and go to that, go for it. But I'm going to tell you a little bit about these guys, and I think you should watch this. These are what we call galleries. Here you see the galleries. And they clean these out, and then these are areas where they dump the sawdust. So you might see some of this sawdust or frass. Okay, now I collect all kind of stuff, so I got my little Marko jar collection. So here you can see there's a difference between frass from sawdust from saws. It's nice and clean. From bees, it's different. Okay, from pavement ants, it's all different. Carpenter ants will have frass like this. They'll have some debris. They like to throw the debris out, so it's not exactly perfect. And little black spots all over. These are ant body parts. They throw out the dead. They don't bury their dead. They throw it out with the frass like the garbage. It's unbelievable. So you can always tell by looking at the frass. Put your fingers in here, move it around. Oh, look, there's a dead ant head and a dead ant leg. And there's just parts of it, okay? Now, in your house, it's different. It might be packed up like this. So they're not hanging out here. They're dumping it here. They're somewhere else. And they're actually living in the woods somewhere, wet wood, all right? This is what they kind of look like, just so you can see. They have basically one body part, 2 body parts, and 3. They're very round, okay? Unlike termites, they look like these guys, but they have a straight body. These guys got round bodies, okay? And they also have antennae that are curved. See the antennae that are curved? And then they also have wings. We'll talk about those in a minute. So the ants have 3 distinct body parts. And these are the carpenter ants, okay? Now, if you see these, here's a carpenter ant right here, a little out of focus. And then when you see these guys, these are pill bugs. Well, that's telling me there's a moisture condition coming. That's centipedes and pill bugs and 100-leggers, all those types of mites and bugs are from moisture. So you got to figure out what's going on. And then here, oh, look at this. They got wings. Those are reproductives. Okay, we're going to talk about those. That's an ant with wings. Yeah, they fly, but not all of them. Just in the springtime, they get rid of a bunch, and we'll talk about them. Okay, and they like to fly and find new homes. So you look in your dust and you look at this. You see carpenter ant, different size ones, parts of them. You know, and you're like, wow, okay, I got a carpenter ant problem. You know, when you see a lot of carpenter ant fragments or wings, you got a moisture problem in your house, okay? And you go around the house and you vacuum, right? And like, oh, there they are again, more dead ones, you know, up there behind the, you know. When you see these guys here and there in a couple, if you see, let's say, 3 ants dead in your house in 3 different parts, you probably got a satellite colony somewhere, okay? Yeah, they can bite, okay? They don't generally run up to you and bite you, though, but they can bite. It stings a little bit. You know, outside of the home, they do live in dead trees, rotting logs, stumps, telephone poles, even man-made structures that are wet. Inside, they like to live in, I want to show you this, where they like to live inside in a second, but they live in porch pillars, roofs, windows, wherever there's water leaking or condensation. And I have a lot of videos on moisture events in homes, condensation problems, leaking siding, mold and mildew. You want to watch those too, because that'll help you find where these guys are at. You know, in the spring and summer, you know, they're very active in the spring. But if you see these guys in, let's say, January, February, let's say February, March, guess what? They're not coming from the outside. You might have a satellite colony, and these ants have multiple colonies, okay? We'll talk about that. And you'll see them very active. A lot of times they'll live indoors and maybe not eat in your house. They'll go eat somewhere else, but they like your house because it's a good place for them. You know, when these builders tear down the forests, they build these homes. Well, the homes happen to be the trees that these ants got to live into. So they're not going to leave. They're going to find a place to go. They're going to go into a shed. They're going to go in your house. They used to go in the woods when there was trees. So now there's 2 types of colonies. You have parents, which are huge. A lot of times these are underground. When you guys cut down trees, man, you got to cut those stumps out, because, man, 10 years from now, there's going to be a big, 50,000 ant colony living there. So always get rid of your stumps, especially around the house. And ants will travel up to 500-600 feet. So if you got trees you cut down there 500-600 feet away, get rid of the stumps, okay? Because they're going to eventually, they will live in there, all right? So they have the main colony outside, but once they start running out of food, they make more colonies, and they call them satellites. So they create these colonies. They may have many satellites, okay, that are part of the mother colony, all right? It's still the big colony with little side businesses going on, all right? They like to eat honeydew, which is like a lot of plants. I have a small greenhouse in my basement where I start plants, and I leave stuff there in the winter. Man, the ants are in there. It's like, oh, God, and they wonder why I got ants. And these are mostly sugar ants, not carpenter ants, but they like honeydew. They eat insects, dead or alive. They juice, fresh sweets, honey, sugar. And what's funny is if you put food out and the ants don't eat it, and I'm talking sugar ants too, it's not good, okay? It's not good. If the ants don't want it, it ain't any good. And I know now that if you put French fries, and this picture shows you some French fries, they are not eating the French fries. Try it. They won't eat it. So that means there's something wrong with those fries. So they do eat certain foods, generally foods that are good without any chemicals. They know what GMO is. They know what's in the cans, that somehow they won't eat it because they know it's bad for them. Well, if the ants don't eat it, maybe we shouldn't be eating it either. So my video slides a little bit wrong. They're not going to eat McDonald's and Burger King, okay? Now, they will also ingest it a lot of times right where they find it, and they bring it back. And then what they do is they regurgitate the food, okay, to the queen and the developing larvae and other ants. The ants basically are just pure business. They only stop to feed or share food. That's it. They're not hanging around, and they're very active at night, strictly business. And they usually will come out 15 minutes after sundown. But they'll be around all day, all night, okay? They also like to follow their own paths. Sometimes they have the same path they follow for a long time, especially, in the grass and outside. Now, the books tell you that, they're 10 to 20,000. You know what? These colonies get bigger. They can get to 50,000, okay? A good mature colony with satellites has got 50,000. And I don't know who's counting them, but there could be more or less, right? And when the ants that are outside either the colonies or the satellites, there's only 15% of them that are outside. The rest are inside. They're doing work. They're defending the colony. They're doing all kind of stuff, They're caring for the live, they all got jobs, and they're all busy, and 15% of them. Now, sometimes, you got like bees, okay, and wasps and things like that in attics that you don't know about. And guess what? The ants find these guys. So a lot of times they will destroy a bee colony and steal all their food. And so you might have this habitat thing going on in your attic that you don't even know, a bee ant war, And so, they will attack other insects in your home, okay? Now this is the same photo. This actually is kind of crazy because I did this. I've been an inspector for 33 years, and I've done, I don't know, I'm going to say 17,000 home inspections. And this was about, I'm going to say 20 years ago, maybe 15 years ago. I went up, my clients don't come in the attic, so I'm crawling around the attic with my camera like, wow, look at this. The ants are attacking a beehive. And so I took a picture of this and brought it down to my clients, and I'm like, yeah, there's ants up there. And they go, oh, those are definitely Carpenter ants. That means we got Carpenter ants in the house. And they're leaving a house that had major Carpenter ant problems. So they're like, we ain't buying this house. No way, we're out of here. So the realtor got all pissed off at me. Most realtors in Cleveland, I hate to say it, but they like to refer inspectors that are very nice guys. Hey, that's everything. Oh, that crack. Don't worry about that crack. It's normal. That's the kind of inspectors a lot of the realtors in Cleveland will refer. But you want, guys like me are going to say different. And I went down and said, hey, we got a problem here. Look, there's ants in the basement. There's ants in the attic, live ones in the attic. They're having a little war up there. I go, there's a lot of them. I go, you probably got an ant problem. And then I found all kind of moisture events. Well, the realtor got mad. And matter of fact, they've never gave me another referral after that. But then they sold it to another home owner that got a different inspector, didn't find or say anything about the ants. Well, a year later, 2 years later, about a year later, and 2 years later, I get a phone call from a lawyer. And they found out I inspected it, and they wanted this picture right here because they were going to sue the inspector. I don't know if they sued the real estate agent because they didn't tell these people. It was a $40,000 problem, okay? And I don't know. I'm not sure if I sold this picture or not. I can't remember. It's been like 15, 20 years. I think I gave it to them. All right, your front porch. Again, they go into your front porch if it leaks, right? If your house is facing the south and the west, that's where all the storms come from. The water and the wind-driven rains. That's where it's wet, like porches and patios. So they like it in here. Here we go. They're inside this porch. You're eating it away. All right, and there's your galleries. And what they do is they move the frass in the porch. They just move it, okay? There it is. In the garage, they move the frass out of the way. Now, this is a basement. Ignore this white stuff. This is just they're splashing concrete when they're building it. But look at this here. I pull out the insulation, and it's all rotted. This is what they want. They want this water. They love these spaces. So you can go underneath your front door, underneath your back door. Go pull out the drop ceilings in the basement. Pull out the insulation and look. And if it's wet, the ants are going to find it. That's where a satellite's going to move to, right? Here's another one. You see how this is wet right here. And actually there's frass and parts. Here's one where I pulled it out and there's like live ants like, oh, what are you doing? Leave us alone. Leave us alone. They go, no, we ain't leaving you alone. Now how does it get in there? Well, it can get in there a lot of ways. So you got to figure this out. If you got a moisture problem or a moisture event or high humidity or condensation, you got to figure out what's going on in my house. At least get a dehumidifier to help that. But go outside. Here you go. Bricks. The water hits this brick. It's painted, right? So it makes it's not as porous, right? Boom, it gets sucked right in through capillary action, runs down behind the brick. And there you got a capillary space. And this building's old. It doesn't have weep holes, right? It doesn't have flashing. And so it leaks right into the top plate of the foundation. And guess what? It's wet. Okay? That's a leak. That can cause ants, all right? This one here is just a bad building design. These things don't even work because guess what? The water hits the rain, especially if this is a southern western building, the rain hits all this brick up here. And if it's a long 2, 3, 4, a 2-day rain, it's going to get all wet. It's going to run down behind you. This flashing does nothing. And it leaks into the ceiling here. Okay, and that's where the ants are at. all right? And so sometimes you have kick-out flashing that doesn't work. A lot of times what people do here is they'll seal this so this brick does not become as absorbent, okay? Now here we go. Oh, we got the cultured stone siding, The problem with cultured stone siding is they didn't do it right. And I would say for 10 years, they're doing it right now, but there's literally millions of homes, I would say, maybe a million homes that have a potential mold problem, a water problem, and an ant problem because they did not put in the proper drainage planes and they did not put in the proper flashings. Here's a for sure leak. Here you got eaves, which is improperly done. You don't have any type of expansion here, and you've got culture stone that's not done. Water hits this, goes right in there through capillary action, through absorption, and this whole wall is full of ants. This house is just getting eaten apart. Now, let's say you got faulty plumbing. There was a time where, they installed polybutylene plumbing. Man, that stuff fatigues and drips and leaks, or you've got galvanized in the walls and you decide to put a piece of copper. Now you got a free electron, so you've got electrolysis. So then you get corrosion like way downstream. So there's a little drip in the ceiling here going on for a year. Guess what? That's enough for the ants. Sometimes it's hidden behind a wall. You can't see it, but here you see some efflorescence, right? And you get the moisture meter and you start looking for the moisture. What's going on? Is there a crack that's leaking? Do we need an epoxy inject our foundation? Is our gutter leaking? Do we have poor grading? Other times, it's crazy. You got to be somebody like me with some special tools. Now, this is a piece of equipment that's called a thermal imaging camera. And this house had ants, so we're like, where are the ants at? We're trying to find them. They're in the basement. So here, I found outside there's a structure, a chimney structure. I'm like, well, what the heck is this big chimney structure with one fireplace upstairs? Well, guess what? They had a fireplace downstairs. That's an infrared image showing you cold air coming down the chimney. And there's your stud walls, and they just covered the whole thing up. And there was moisture and condensation in there. Okay, and these wood structures there was ants in here, and basically they had to tear this wall out to get the ants. But you don't need a fancy gauge like this. Okay, a lot of times you could just use your head, look for where the moisture is coming out. So real quick, we're gonna get to how to get rid of them here in a second. It should be coming up here. So early spring, March, April, and they go all the way to October. And then the swarmers, let's talk about these. The swarmers are the guys with the wings. And basically, each colony produces these winged ones that fly out. And they're basically females looking to mate. And once they mate, they hurry up and find another wet piece of wood. And if they get lucky, they get a shot of, and they only get 16 eggs for the first year. And if they get lucky and make it through that year, then the next year it's over, right? So, the fertilized queen lays her eggs and they hatch, and then basically, she feeds the born workers, and basically the born workers start working, okay? And it takes it some time. I mean, it might take a colony 3 to 5 years to reach full maturity, and it might get bigger and bigger. And a good queen can last a long time. Somebody said 25 years, okay? And if the queen dies, guess what? They know how to make a new one, okay? And they give the queen a different name. So here's a swarmer with the wings, okay? And you can see the wings. There's 2 different sized wings. That's how you can tell. You got the antenna that are bent, and you got the 3 body parts. That makes it a carpenter ant. A termite would be a little bit different. Here's a little sketch here. So worker's a little different. Here's your queen, a little bit bigger. But you can see how the body is a little bit. You're not going to see the queen, so I'm showing you this. And and then here's your swarmer. Now, if you see the swarmers in your house, like a lot of them flying around, you better find out. Now, the little ants also have teeny swarmers. These are the sugar ants, so we'll do another video on that. So basically, this is a difference between a termite and a carpenter ant, and we already kind of talked about these. The wings are different, and the bodies are different, the antennae are different. Now, let's talk about control, all right? So, first of all, you want to try to find the nest. If you can find a nest, whack the nest, it's over, okay? Another thing, then you got to find the satellites, because the satellites can keep going, okay? And then it can become big nests, So, you got to find the main nest out probably in your yard somewhere, and then you got to go for the little nests and the satellites, and then you want to get rid of them. Now, you could, if you can't find them, then you got to bait them, okay? And so let's talk about some of the things we could do, all right? So really, this is one type of product. You can get it. I'll leave a link below, okay? It's not very expensive. And basically, it comes with granules, and it's used for outdoor, okay? And it comes for indoor, too. So you could use both of these products, indoor and outdoor. And basically, this is effective if the ants find the stuff and actually adapt to it. Here's another one. This one's really good too. I'm not sure that the one set will do it, but you might want to try it, and if it works, you're good to go. But you'll get like 6, box will come with 6 traps, and basically this pretty much kills them as well. It's a bait, so they eat it and they bring it back and they poison everybody. So it's basically a baiting station. So you feed them poison and they bring it back and poison the colony. And then this one is also a bait. Now you might want to try a couple of them. If you want to attack the ants, man, be a MacGyver. First look for them, inject the big plant. If you find the colonies, go to your basement, pull out the insulation, look for the moisture, clean your gutters, fix all your cracks, fix all the moisture problems, run a dehumidifier. You got to do all that, all right? And then you could do some baiting, you could do some trapping, you could look for paths, okay? And I'll show you how to do that in a second, all right? And here's one more, and this one's also very good too. So, this is a bait as well, and it works. So I'll leave these in the links below, all right? So when you're outside, go for the trees. They got these big holes. Check them out. They get full of water. These things get hollow, all right? They live in there. And whenever you see hollow trees fall down in windstorms, it's because they're either old trees, sick trees, or damaged trees. And when they get damaged and wet, the ants get in there, okay? And they even cause more damage. So when trees fall down on people's homes, go look at the base of the trees. They're generally hollow. So let's look how we're going to look for them outside. Just, you go outside and look for the tree limbs that are hanging over the house. Trim them, Look for northern exposure areas. Look for telephone cables. A lot of times they follow the telephone cables from another tree. They could be in a tree across the street and they follow the cable to your house, and they're getting into the gutters and the soffits and the areas where it's shaded. Wood piles, checking the wood piles. Those wood piles you leave out in the woods for 5 years. You know what? They're not lonely. Okay, go check them out. Okay, we talked about the stumps, and then if you got leaks on siding, windows, and doors, okay, you got to check all that out. What? So you could also look, and I'll show you here. This is like a great condition, and guess what? This area did have carpenter ants eating out this soffit, okay? They loved it here. They had little wires. They had a gutter that overflowed. They had a thermal bypass, which caused ice dams, so they were wet in the winter. I mean, they had it all going on, man. They had it going on. So here you go, Mr. Carpenter Ant. He's going up. And usually when they're going up, you want to look at the speed. And, stay back because they see you. They just stop. And you could mess it up. And these guys aren't stupid. They'll figure something else out. So you got to be tricky when you're looking for them. So this guy's going up, and of course this guy's going down. He's going down real quick. And you see them when they're moving real fast. That means they're done. They're going to get more food. You can sometimes follow them and look for where they're going. And when they're going up, they're going slow. So slow-moving ants mean they're going home. If you can look for their little path, you might get lucky, and they'll lead you right to their home, all right? This guy here, he was these pictures are a little out of whack, but he was coming up this wire into this box, okay, and then go up through this box, okay, and then it went up the wire up to the upstairs. I mean to the upper floor. Here's one where they're using the downspout. They're traveling up this downspout, up and down, and they were in the soffits because the soffits were leaking. These guys are looking at me like, uh-oh, because they heard me. They could feel the vibrations, and they're watching me now. They're not moving. So anyway, so I provide you some information. It's springtime now, and you might want to take care of, dealing with insects around the house. You want to first take care of all the water and moisture problems outside. You want to minimize any leaks. You want to go in your house and look for leaks. If you can't find them, you could hire a home inspector. There's, whatever town you're at, I would recommend looking up ASHE and then just hit inspector within 50 miles, and you'll get a bunch of guys and check them out. A lot of them are licensed to do pests, and you could hire one of them guys. If you're local, you can call me. We can go look. If you have questions that you want to figure out, I do have a service. It's called Clevelandmarko with a question. Just Google it. There's a small fee, and if not just ants and pests and things, it's also odors and noises and just weird house stuff, that people can't figure out. I am Clevelandmarko. Please rate and subscribe. I got some links below if you want to check those out, and so please subscribe. And I have a lot of videos. So you guys have a good day, and thanks for watching.